Welcome to Offwatch, our weekly interview series. A chance this week to hear from somebody new to the ocean race, Francesca Clapcich, who sailed with Turn the Tide on Plastic in the last edition, her first lap of the planet. But as you'll hear in this interview, she's also building plans for the future. And hopefully will be representing an Italian team in the next edition. Now, we recorded this interview before the one that we released with Xabi Fernandez, which is why Francesca Clapcich had a little question for Xabi that I posed to him in last week's episode. Plus, there's many more in our back catalogue for you to enjoy. And if you do enjoy this series, you can leave us a comment below as to who you want us to talk to next. Plus, you can like and subscribe to our channels for many more interviews to come. Enjoy. The next edition of the Ocean Race is going to finish in Genoa in Italy. The 38,000-mile journey around the planet will finish with a final leg in the Mediterranean. This has already got navigators worried about the potential problems that such a leg could throw up. But for Francesca Clapcich, an Italian, a two-time Olympian no less, this is a chance to realise a bit of a special dream. An Italian boat winning the race and finishing in Italy. So, Francesca, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today. I know you're thinking about the next edition. When did you hear that the finish line, the final destination, was going to be in your home country?
First of all, hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me to join. It was for sure like an amazing thing. Being Italian and having the race finish in Italy, it's incredible. It's kind of like a dream. I'm not specifically from Genoa. Like my hometown is kind of in the other side of the boot, but it doesn't matter. I think being an Italian, it doesn't really matter where actually your town is, but it's awesome that the race end up in Italy. It's not going to be an easy leg. Like it's going to be an incredible challenge from the start to the finish. I'm not saying that just the Mediterranean will be a big challenge. I think the full leg from the Nag to Genoa will be really hard. But yeah, I remember it was just after the Ocean Summit in Genoa, and there was an unveiling of the grand finale in Genoa, and yeah, it was incredible. Like I think it was a massive work, really nice job done from the mayor that loved the sport, and it was an incredible team effort to bring the finish in Italy.
Because like you say, everybody wants to have that finish. I mean, you remember from the last edition, sailing into The Hague, just how special it is, that final finish line and the energy, the spectators. So I know that you want to put a team in for the next edition, flying the Italian flag. Obviously, at the moment with, you know, the lockdown and the virus situation, plans have obviously had to be adjusted. But can you give us an update as to what it is you're trying to achieve?
For sure, there is a massive passion behind that. It will be a dream actually come true to be able to have an Italian flag boat finishing the race in Italy. That would be for me incredible, and having all the Italian people at the finish line in the city of Genova, it would be like an incredible dream. For sure, there is so much more to do before that. The actual situation with the virus is not really helping. I think it's not just the problem of like our team. I think it's a worldwide problem. Everyone needs to face with the incredible economic problem that the virus brought to us. Especially in Italy, the country has been hit really hard, and for sure the restart, it seems to be pretty hard. We are trying to switch from like a phase 1 to phase 2, where actually the changes are not so dramatic. So maybe little shops or small workers can start to work again, but in the big picture, it's not a massive change in the economic. So the project is there. We are working really hard every day to navigate the situation, to understand if we can talk with someone, when it's the right moment to do it, and how to approach actually company that have been struggling the last couple of months. So I would say that 3 or 4 months ago, like it was a little bit easier. Now there is a bit much more to navigate, but for sure we are not giving up, and there are still a few months to go. So we're working hard.
And it's not the first time that you've sailed with an Italian flag on your back, if indeed you do manage to get there with an Italian team in the next edition. 2 Olympic Games, the laser radial, and then in Rio 2016 for the 49er FX. This saw you crewing, and this was the last Olympic campaign that you've done. I mean, you might get back into it, but I remember you coming into the Olympic Games with quite a strong track record. You'd won the Worlds in 2015. And even before that, with a lot of the other events, with the Sailing World Cup events, you were never finishing outside the top 10. Really strong performances. How did the Rio performance for you, finishing 5th, how did that match up with what you wanted to achieve?
Well, for sure was not the performance that we wanted in Rio. We came from a really 2 good seasons. You're right. We were ended up so many times on the podium, and like the other competitors were I'm not saying scared, but they knew that we were always having like good performance and never give up. With Giulia was like a really like special team. Like we were pushing each other so hard, and with our massive differences. So that was the funniest part of our team. Like we are so different for so many things, but at the same time we were like completing each other on the boat, where I was 100% focused on the trimming, on the speed of the boat, on the physical part of the boat, and she was able to trust me 100% and just look around and choose where to go and where to tuck or jibe. So like it was probably the best 4 years of my Olympic career with her, because it was fun out of the water, really intense, sometimes a really Italian fire going on inside the boat. But then our relationship was so strong that actually everything that was happening on the water was not really like bringing any problem outside the water. We were able to like scream to each other the worst thing ever in Italian, and then coming back ashore and being like, all right, whatever, let's go for a beer. And that for me was massive. For sure, we were both disappointed in Rio. We get there with like high chance to come back with a medal. I think we had everything in place to do that, and we underperformed. For sure, the 4 boats that end up before us had an incredible performance, and they deserved to be there way more than us. We started the series way too conservative, kind of being scared to be over the line, or, like all that kind of mindset for sure is not working if you want to go and win a medal. You need to go all for it. Ended up 5th or ended up 10th, at the end of the game, it doesn't change so much, but ended up in the top 3, it's changed a lot. And then for sure, like that hunger that I have after the games, it was, I think both of us dealt with that in a bit of different way. I was happy to get away from the Olympic scene and try to focus on different stuff. For a few months, I have to be honest, I just put myself in front of everything, my family, the people that, I loved, and try to reconnect with all the people that actually you lose in the Olympic campaign because you're so focused on your goal. And And then I've been, I don't know, I've been lucky enough to be in the right moment, in the right spot to get a chance to do the last ocean race. And that was a game changer.
You go from two-time Olympian, dinghy sailor, one of the best out there, to somebody who has raced round the world in the ocean race. So where did that come about? Was it something like you said, you'd finished Rio and, okay, what's new? I need a new challenge. Or was it always something in the back of your mind that you were thinking about?
If I have to be honest, it's always been there. Like I still remember when I was a kid having like photos in my room. It was still like the vibrant, but it didn't change so much. Like the big waves in the Southern Oceans. And when I was like 15, I was like, oh, maybe, I could be like out there with like a mini 6.5. And my mom was like, oh my God, like try to keep sailing dinghy. At least we know that like you come back home every day, okay, but we will see. And it's always been there. Like my parents, I kind of born in the water. They had a little cruise, like a sailing cruise boat. And we were spending all the summers on the boat, in the sailing club with my friends. I was always surrounded by like sailing boats. It was not actually like love at first sight. I was so much more into like skiing and trying to do all different sports, and sailing was just one of them. And then, probably like my brain just switched a little bit, and I was okay. Like I was watching these Olympic games on the TV, and I still remember like telling my mom and my dad, being like, okay, I think one day I want to be there, and it would be awesome if I can win a medal. And they were like, okay, do it. And so then from there, I kind of tried to find a way to be at the Olympics, and it ended up that sailing was, I don't know, in that moment, maybe the sport that I was doing better. It was just probably, I saw an opportunity out there being like, oh, okay, I can like Olympic sailing and go to the Olympics. But like ocean sailing was there. We were doing little cruising going from Trieste to the Croatia, and my dad was like, help me in the boat. And sometimes we end up like in storms or big waves, and my mom like throwing up in the bucket, and my dad like laughing, and we were just having fun. But for sure, like 20 years ago, there was like the example of like maiden and other sport too, like women being out there. But for me, being like Italian kids in a country where like the ocean sailing is not so developed and where there are not so many opportunities like in other countries, it was really hard to imagine myself one day out there. And it was more like, if I work hard, if I push hard, if I find the right people to support me, I can get to the Olympics and doing really good. Probably it will be really hard to get out there because the opportunities are just not there. And then in 2014, when I was following like SCA, and I was actually seeing people coming from my same background, like I remember like Caroline or Annie or Sally, and they were like, okay, they did Olympic sailing, they've been to the Olympic, really high performance, and they find their spot out there and they can do it. When they won the leg in Lorient, I was like, okay, like we can be out there, we can do this. And there are opportunities. If you are good enough, if you're strong enough, if you are lucky enough, sometimes you can be there. And it was a massive game changer, I would say, not just in me, but in all the women sailing movement, because we saw that it was possible, that people with different background can be there and perform really, really high. So it was it was great.
I think there's a misconception for a lot of people that imagine that there's almost, almost like the sort of football or those big leagues where the players, the sailors are all lined up and the teams come along and just pick people. But actually, you've still got to make some calls. I mean, you go, oh, right, I've been to the games twice. I've seen that there are females out there. The rule comes in, which incentivizes females to be on board the boats, or at least mixed teams to be on board the boats. How do you still capitalize on that? Did you have to knock on doors, or did somebody call you?
Well, there was a bit going on in between 2016 and 2017. I had a few calls from an Italian guy that was trying to see if he was able to do like an Italian team, or at least having a double flag boat. And they were willing to have at least one Italian woman in the team, or at least in the regatta, trying to show that we come from a small country, but we are able to do that. And he called me and it was like, well, we were thinking about you because your CV and your background, like your character, pretty like easy and happy person. And what do you think about it? And I was like, well, I think yes, without even thinking 1 second, like I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then at the end, unfortunately, that didn't happen. Like money wise, most of the time that's the problem. But it was really nice because it was not just like, okay, it didn't happen, bye, see you later. It was really like introduced me to other people in the ocean race, in other team. I've been introduced to the Magenta project. I went to Madeira sailing with the GC and meet more people that had maybe the same experience that I had. And and then I had the chance to contact Dee and being like, okay, just send like the CV and we will see, like we will run some trial. Let's see if we can have you at the trials. And I remember sending the CV to the email and being like, waiting, when you refresh the email and it was one moment where I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I don't get an answer back, maybe they already find other people. And then I remember getting this email being like, sorry for the late time, but we are like running really fast with the team, and it would be awesome if you can be in Lisbon and try for the team. And I was like, okay. I packed my bag and just off to Lisbon, and we did that trial with the team. And when we came back ashore, I was like, okay, well, I was ready to pack again my bag and go home and wait, like okay, we'll see what happened. And at the end, I never came back home. Like I think they were happy to have me on board, and maybe they saw some strength. And I tried to be like as prepared as I could, like physical wise. I was working really hard in the gym to gain a little bit of weight and be strong enough and show that I can do it. I remember with Lee's Worley one day ashore, and we needed to put like the BNG antenna on top of the mast, and I never been on top like a 65-foot mast. So she was like, okay, we should put this up there. Like, okay, someone wants it. I was like, well, okay, let's do that. Okay, I can go. I was like, I'm not sure if I can actually do this. And then they just put me up, and I looked down. I was like, oh my God, it's pretty high. But I was like so hungry to like learn more and ask more, and it was a great opportunity. And probably sometimes it's also about luck and being there and have the right people, that you contact the right people make you meeting other people, and they can see something in you, and it doesn't need to be necessary like ocean racing experience. It can be something else, like the work ethic that we had in the Olympic sailing. It's pretty intense. Like we are able to work for one goal for 4 years in a row, so many hours per day with just one focus. And I think that ethic can be switched in some other situations.
So you join the team, you get to the start line, obviously soaking up the atmosphere and everything. And I imagine for all of the sailors, you know you're building to that first start, that moment where the race begins. You've done the prologues, you've done the press. I really want to get your take on a little incident that happens just after the start in Alicante, where we have Turn the Tide on Plastic, Sun Hunkai Scallywag, a rivalry that will continue all the way around the world, with Sun Hunkai Scallywag heavily defending their windward side and forcing you guys and themselves into the spectator fleet. And I think you miss the spectator boat. I mean, how close was it? What was going on from your point of view? When did you realize, oh, this is what aggressive sailing is going to be like?
I think it was the closest call to be like out from Alicante and actually need to go back to Alicante because we were destroying the boat. So in that moment, everything like happened so fast. I was trimming the main, Dee was driving, and I remember like being pushed against to the spectator boat, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And Dee driving, being like, he's the man, like he's everything, trying to like have like the full control of the boat. And I don't know exactly how close we end up to that spectator boat. It was nothing. It was actually nothing. And just after like 5 or 10 minutes, like the adrenaline was crazy high, like for a little while. And when everything set up a little bit, we just look at each other and we're like, oh my God, like, like people are worried when we are out there in the middle of nowhere. This is like the crazy thing going on. When actually you are out there in the nowhere, yeah, you can end up hitting stuff in the water but yeah, actually it's a pretty safe place for the boat. When you are so close to other boats or really close to the coast, it's so tricky. Yeah. But that it's true. It gave me like perspective of how performance-based the race was, how hard the teams were pushing. For sure, we were the team with less experience in the fleet, especially at the beginning. So we saw how, like, in just few miles, like Dongfeng and Mafre were just like faster and with a perfect setup, and we were like still, understanding what we were doing. And that was a big, big difference, especially in the first few legs where we were paying our inexperience, and that the performance was always there. We were always pushing the boat like 100%. And for sure, at the beginning of the race, our 100% was a little different than like Mafre or Dongfeng 100%, but it was still really hard for everybody, no matter if you are the one trying to win the race or if you are the one in the back. Like, it's really, really, really hard and high performance based.
Did that experience match up with what people had told you ocean offshore racing was like? Because I'm thinking to leg 2, where once again, Sun Hunkai Scallywag, for the final 10 days, I think it was, of that leg, 2 boats with still, 1,000 miles to go are within sight of each other the whole time. One boat length here, one boat length there. If I was describing ocean racing to anybody, I'd say, well, you leave the dock, you don't see anybody else for weeks, and then you arrive. But this was so different.
Yeah, I remember most of the legs we were actually doing like tactical and strategic sailing against other boats. It was way closer to the sailing style that I was used to instead of what I was imagining. Like, you're right. Like, people imagine that you have your routing, you have your navigator is telling you where to go, what to do, what the number should be. We start here, see you later in 15 days, 20 days. It's not that way. It depends, of course, on the legs, but it was a really, really close edition. I would say, like, the speed and it was really big matching between everybody. We saw then at the end, like, the most experienced had a bit of like leverage compared to other teams, but it was really close. It was really close. I was actually, it was yesterday. I was looking again to the tracking from the leg from Hong Kong to Auckland. I'm just trying to study more like navigation, routing, and I think it was like super interesting data. And when you see, like, after so many days, after the doldrums that can really like mess up everything, they both finished in, like, from the first to the last ending in Auckland, there were less than 2 hours. And the first 4, they were inside, like, first 5 inside the 20 minutes. It's unbelievable, like, the level of the fleet, and sometimes how you race. Sometimes we were actually, yes, okay, we have the computer down below, we know what we have to do, but we have another 4 boats around us that we can actually see. We can see them eating, we can see them, like, smiling. So let's stay to the group and try to sail fast and beat them. It's gonna be enough 1 meter on the finish line. You don't need to be 24 hours.
You mentioned how close those finishing margins were, and Auckland as well, that you said, you were 6 minutes off a podium in Auckland, and it seemed like quite a few times you seemed to lose out on those margins. You look at the score sheet and you go, okay, you finished here, but actually you were finishing just off the big points, just behind this boat. I wonder what the atmosphere was like on board, because Turn the Tide on Plastic was a little bit of a different composition to a lot of the other boats. It was quite young, both in terms of experience, but also age. And I wonder, how did you, as a team, what were those moments like? Did you have to pick anybody up, or were people ready for the sort of the challenges of the race, and actually, you could rely on yourself without needing anyone else?
I think when you finish so close to do a better result, well, everyone was pissed. It's normal. Like, we are competitors. We are out there because we want to win and we want to perform. So for sure, it was not just like smiling and hugging, but at the same point, we were a pretty close team, and at the end, we will always end up together and analyzing, debriefing, understand what went good, what went wrong, and what we can do better. There was a massive work behind from, like, I remember, like, Bledding doing, like, amazing job with the numbers and try to push always, like, to get better. And when you show numbers, when you show data, that's it. It's not that I'm thinking that something is better. Yeah. It's a number. It's just saying that, just do it and do it better. And that was great. And we tried to change a few stuff, and we tried to try to be better every time and see if someone else was doing some job on board in a different way that was making us performing better, or maybe coming back again to what was the, like, basic roles on board. And for sure, like, so many different characters, so many different, like, mindsets, so many different like, nationalities, and that's a massive difference. Like, it's not about
the language on board.
Yeah, it's not just about the communication. It's also about how different we are. Like, take an Italian, take a Swedish, and take an Australian or British. It's not just about the language that they speak, but it's about how we deal with problems, how we deal with stuff, the mindset. It's a bit the culture side. It's not just, oh yeah, for sure. I joined a team that my English was not perfect, was really far away to be perfect. So sometimes it was not easy, the communication, having so many English speaking people on board. And when you're tired, when you don't sleep enough, everyone, of course, start to speak faster or with a different slang. And my brain was also really tired. So my understanding was really hard. But it's not just about that. It's also about, I think Dee did an incredible job to put together a group of people so different and at the same time so together on working on the same things. And that's a really like chapeau to Dee, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's really easy to just, be the skipper, grab your bunch of best friends and best buddy that you normally sail every year together, put them together, go out there and do what you normally do all year long. Or even more, like being British, just pick up another 9 British people, kind of same way to think about stuff, same communication, easy. She didn't go through the easy way. She did through a full inclusive way, try to give opportunity to more people, give opportunity to more country. And for me, that was like amazing.
I remember one moment in particular where Turn the Tide on Plastic went from, because we were in the office, you would always send through the videos, we'd always see your boat always seemed to be able to put on a good smile, a good show. You were making each other very happy. But there was one moment where you capsized, big Chinese jibe. And I remember being so impressed with how quickly you all just gotta get on with it. And suddenly you could see how the test of a team. Do you remember some of those lockdowns? Those knockdowns. What were they like when you're racing along? 3 seconds later, you're over.
Well, I remember pretty good. I was on the main. So then yes. in the video, I'm the one going to the pedestal and. Yeah.
Now, let me pick you up on that one, because this is, I feel like you should, I really want you to educate people here, because there were so many people who saw the video and would say things like, well, just why are you pulling the main in? Surely you want to ease the main out. Talk us through what you're trying to do there and why it's important.
Well, I mean, when you capsize, and that's like, it's called a Chinese jibe. So what happened is you're not just wiping out on the side of the boat that you're actually sailing in, but everything, like, you find everything on the wrong side. So the biggest challenge and the biggest problem that you can have in that situation is actually you don't have the new runner on. So what happened is, like, all the load of the rig, of the sails of the boat is completely, like, we know nothing that is taking the mast up. So the only priority in that moment is actually to pull the main in and use the mainsail and use the main ship and the tension on the mainsail to create a backstay. So that's how actually you try to save the rig.
Now, all of this, it was worth saying, is happening when the boat is at 90 degrees, because of course the keel's the wrong side, the ballast is the wrong side, the stack is the wrong side.
Everything is the wrong side. Like, it can be pretty dangerous for the people down below, because everyone that is sleeping in the bunk is get completely, like, crashed against the boat. And I remember, like, in that condition, we had a lot of stack on the back of the boat. So who was sleeping on the back bunk get kind of smushed again the boat with all the stacking on top. Like, yeah, everyone came on deck, and then I was like, one person is missing, like, like, and Elo was down below in the bunk with all the stacking, and she was not able to push it, against it and coming out. So I remember, like, need to take her out. Like, it's okay until there is no water or other stuff coming in. It's okay, but it's a bit like, yeah, it's not a good situation to be on, but I think we deal with that in a really good way. We actually had a lot of briefing about that. We never had it one before, so that was actually the first time we experienced in real life. The only thing that we had is briefing about that. If that happened, main on the handle, like hands on the handle, pull the main in, first thing. And you can hear, I think, from the video, someone from down below being like, main on, main on, main on. And we were already doing it on deck. So I think that was a moment where even people from outside, when they were seeing us as like the rookies, a young bunch of people on the boat, kind of like, okay, they are like, the little kiddos of the race. And I think we showed that actually we had some really like stuff in place, safety-wise and protocol-wise. We knew what to do, and I think that was a big boost for everyone, because of course you lose time on that kind of maneuver, but we didn't lose so much time because we actually deal with that pretty fast and pretty efficient.
Well, that's the team. And then how about yourself? You go down into the Southern Ocean. You haven't been there before. I mean, I imagine it, and that's as close as I want to get. Did you surprise yourself by finding it easier than you thought, or did you have to dig quite deep?
Well, it was hard. I remember that, like, especially on the second Southern Ocean, so from Auckland to Itajaí, like the first time when we went from Cape Town to Melbourne, it was hard, like really bad sea state. That at the end, the wind was not so strong. We kind of had like moments in that leg where we were on deck without the jacket. And I was like, well, that's a pretty weird, Southern Ocean experience. But that was completely different on the second time. Like from Auckland to Itajaí was really, really windy from the beginning. We started in Auckland, and it was already windy in Auckland, and it was hard. I remember, like, down below was horrible, and on deck it's cold. It's kind of miserable, but at least you see what is coming. So you see the waves, you see the person that is driving, you kind of like able to anticipate what's going on, what the movement of the boat will be. When you are down below, it's just horrible. It's so hard to sleep. Everything is wet. Just to put on all your stuff, you take ages, because you need to always grab something with one hand and with the other hands trying to dress. And it's hard. Like, I think I get really deep down on my thoughts, and yeah, I had for sure hard moments. Like, I remember, like, I don't know, I remember Elo helping me a lot, and it was really, like, it was great, like, she kind of knew when I had maybe my moments, and I was a little bit overwhelmed of, all the shaking, all the bouncing around, so especially down below. And sometimes she was just coming with a really nice hot chocolate and be like, lift you up. It's almost over. And then, like, we arrived at Cape Horn, we round Cape Horn, and the rig problem came up. And yeah, it was another like really down moment where we were like, oh, come on, really? Like, it was already hard for 11 day. Why you're making even harder now to get to Brazil? And I think I knew that it was a hard leg, before leaving. I think it ended up being harder than what I thought. And yeah, for sure the situation also on Scallywag, when we knew about fish, that for sure was not making anything easier for anyone. We had a really bad time on board, and you start to go with the thoughts in so many places, and it's hard. It's hard for everyone because we knew that it was hard for them, but then you stop thinking 1 second and you're like, my God, like it's really hard for everyone that is waiting for us ashore. And you never stop thinking about that. You are so focused on going fast, performance, try to sleep, eat, recover, and repeat that. Yeah, sometimes you send an email home, like being, okay, we are all good, bye, see you. And in that moment, you just think about how many people are at home waiting for you to just come back. And it's like, oh, we are making them having a really hard time.
Did you ever get close to stopping?
No, never. I'm a hard quitter. Sally can confirm during these days in quarantine, I'm riding a lot my bike in my like garage cave with this like trainer. Sometimes there are these like 3 hours bicycle. She just came down and she's like, what are you doing? Why, you're already 2 hours there. Why you just don't like, it's okay, I'm like, well, I'm not going to give up. Like the training session is 3 hours. I'm going to do 3 hours. She's like, okay. It's really hard. Like I feel bad. I feel disappointed when I quit on something and I don't make it done. So, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question for you then that I put to Ken Reed some time ago. When you're in those situations, like you described in the Southern Ocean, where the conditions are atrocious and frightening, do you prefer to be on deck, getting cold, getting wet, but at least you are able to have some sort of control? You are having to work, but you have something to give. Or do you prefer being in your bunk, knowing that some really good people are in control for you? Where do you prefer to be in those really peak frightening moments?
I mean, comfort-wise, I prefer to be on deck.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like you can see what's going on. If you're going to hit a really massive wave, you know that you just grab yourself somewhere and it's going to be okay. And comfort-wise, down below is just horrible. Trust-wise, when I was going off watch, and I never had one moment when I was like, oh my God, what are they doing? Are they doing the right thing, or what's happening? And we were like wiping out, or like it's normal. Like every watch, at least someone was wiping out. If you don't, you're not pushing hard enough. But it was okay. I was like, okay. Then you were hearing like the winches, easing sheets, and then pulling sheets on again. And I was like, okay, they're good. But like the trust was always there. When you're down below, you just like end up like really launching in the bunks, or if you're preparing your meal, it's just like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And the toilet is not comfortable either. But
yeah, we don't have to go there. We don't have to talk about the toilet. No, yeah. We'll just leave that one well away. So the race continues. You guys get better and better. And I think one really big moment in terms of performance, was that leg from Itajaí to Newport, where the first third, I think, of the leg, you guys were in the lead and taking risks as well. Navigationally, you're saying, well, we got a bit of a risk, but we can head a little bit further out, to the east. We can keep pushing. We can get a little bit more. No, none of the teams at the time, and I totally understand why, none of the teams wanted to tell us how you make the 65 go fast. Was there something that you were changing? How did you sail the boat differently as the race progressed?
I think we just learned both. In that leg, I was not on board because it was the only leg that I was off. We were doing some rotation. And I remember leaving Newport, being like, okay, guys, just do what you know how to do. And of course, be safe out there and, come to pick me up in Europe. and I think the team learned so much. We were unexperienced at the beginning. Not so many people on board had other Volvo Ocean Race experience in the past. Well, was Martin and for sure Dee, Liz, and Elodie. But I would say even talking with Sally and with other SCA team member, when they were sailing in 2014, 2015, they were like, it was so different compared to the last time.
In terms of conditions?
In terms of condition and in terms of performance, they heard so many times that the goal was actually to finish the race and, be there, that it's bad when you put that stuff in your head and it's there, it's in your head. So as soon the conditions are hard or you need to actually give that a little step further, you always take a step back being, okay, but, we need to be safe or we need to and I think with Turn the Tide, we've been able to do that step. Fine, we need to be safe, but we are more than capable to push hard, the same as the other guys. We took longer. Yeah, of course we took longer. I remember the legs from Cape Town to Melbourne where we took the north routing to try to stay in less wind. And that was not just a performance decision.
Sure.
It was a safety decision. No one of us never been out there in Southern Ocean in such bad condition with the front moving so fast. And that was the call in that moment. Then we end up in Auckland, in the Southern Ocean, pushing hard, driving on the ice limit, and driving pretty good, and know what to do. Our performance just rise during the race, and I think actually the results was not reflecting what we were doing in the water, and that was sometimes so frustrating. We end up so many times close to the podium, and it was I think we deserve that, and it's not not being humble. It's just being realistic. And when you have other teams coming to you and being like, you guys, great job, And it was not just something that you tell to someone. You don't need to tell. So when it was coming also from other teams, it was we know.
It's really interesting hearing you discuss this and talking about it in a way that is, you seem to have an appreciation and an understanding of that leadership role, hearing you talk about Dee Kafari and Nico Lundvin, Brian Thompson, the navigators. And of course, after the race, you, as we were saying at the beginning, you're there at the back of a Maxi 90, skippering this boat, winds of change. You've got your old teammate, Giulia Conti, on board. You've got Sally Barker on board helming. Is that where you want to be? I mean, do you like that skipper role now? If we see you again in the next edition, as you're trying to be, is it going to be there?
I can't say that I didn't like it. it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, and it's a lot of responsibility. For sure, we didn't race anything close to what the ocean race is, or it was like a super coastal stuff and like completely different event. But you end up making calls, like, you know who is a bit more experienced, you know who is not, you know who need to be down below if some hard condition end up, and you need who need to be with you on deck helping you out. And I learned a lot on my own skin. Like it's kind of like, it's easy when you're just a crew member because someone else is taking the decision, and you can agree or not, but at the end, yeah, like it's fine. It's not your responsibility at the end if something is going wrong. Everyone is happy and everything is easy when everything is going right and everyone is having fun and you're winning race or you're performing good. The hard decision is when things are going bad and you need to make hard calls. And that's a big learning.
So with Italy then, being the final destination, for you getting a little bit of a taste of what it's like to lead a team and make some decisions, good, bad, tough, easy. If I could just finish with one question. If you could pick anybody from the last edition, from any team, except anybody that was on board Turn the Tide on plastic, if you could take anybody from any of the other teams and put them onto your boat, sailing for Italy, going to come in to give you the best chance of coming in with the win at that finish line, who would be the top of your list?
Whew, that's another question. Well, I would say probably someone from, I don't know. It's a hard question. Never thought about it, but
I find that amazing because I always play fantasy sailing team with the sailors all the time.
I have to be honest, I have a massive respect for Xavi. He has like an incredible background. I was amazed already when they were sailing the 49er and how they were able to sail the 49er. And then, of course, like Movistar and Mafre. And I love his way to lead a team. He's not like an off-the-ground leader where make everyone work. And he's like working with the team, making sure that if the team is working 10, he will work 11 to make it better. And yeah, I would say that probably Xavi is like a great person. And yeah, I don't know, good sailor, better person, I would say. So that's a perfect mix because sometimes, yeah, there are amazing sailors out there, but maybe the personality is not really what I like sometimes. Xavi is a big example. So maybe if I would pick someone, I would pick him.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm talking to Xavi in a couple of days. So I'll ask him to see whether he's free. Is there anything else? Do you want me to ask him at all? Any other little tricks about the 65? Any questions for Xavi when I talk to him?
For sure. Well, I mean, they were really fast and really consistent. So I would say that's also the second side of picking him up and try to get all the tips.
If you want any, put some in an email and I'll put them to him on a little bit of a question. All right. Francesca.
I would love to learn like how he lead teams and like teams always follow him in a really like genuine way, not just because he was a skipper, but because his personality is what just came out. So I love how balanced he was in every interview, in every like things that he talk about. It's just like, it's a really nice guy. Not sure if he thought the same about me or.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't mind. It can be just a one-way road.
I'll ask him. Francesca, thank you very much. I'm sure you want to get back out in the water. I really hope that we get to see an Italian boat with you on it in the next edition of the race, because I can tell it will be something really special for you.
We're working hard on that, and the passion is there. So, finger crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, we'll speak to you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Well, our thanks to Francesca Clapcich for talking us through the twists and turns of the last edition of the race, plus outlining her plans for an Italian team in the next edition. If you enjoyed this interview, leave us a like, and of course, in the comments below, you can let us know who you want us to interview next. See you next time.